This time we're again headed below the rim. This is definitely the trail less traveled on the main corridor trails here at the canyon. And soaking in the isolated majesty. It feels like we're standing in the middle of the Grand Canyon. Of one of the canyon's hiding in plain sight secrets. It's an otherworldly kind of experience. Hello again, everybody. My name is Brian Special, and this is the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. The Tonto Trail. It offers all kinds of opportunities for adventure as it stretches for 95 miles across the Grand Canyon's Tonto Platform, which is a relatively flat layer of the canyon that sits about 3,000 feet below the south rim and about 1,500 feet above the Colorado River. Now, if you're not sure how to identify the Tonto Platform, all you have to do is look down from the south rim in Grand Canyon Village to the most obvious and worn trail that you can see that dead ends right at Plateau Point. That's not the actual Tonto Trail, it's the Plateau Point Trail, but it sits on the Tonto Platform and actually intersects with a section of Tonto. The Tonto Platform has been popular for as long as humans have roamed below the rim, for hundreds of years, back to its earliest inhabitants, the Pueblo and later the Havasupai Indians, who used it on shortcut routes from the South Rim all the way to the river. By the 1880s, the Grand Canyon was heavily prospected, with countless trails being burned into the Tonto Platform by prospectors and their animals and their equipment in search of minerals. Eventually, this network of trails developed a more centralized thoroughfare, making up much of what the Tonto Trail is as we see it today. Now, by the 1920s, as prospecting waned and their owners died off, thousands of unemployed burros roamed the Tonto Platform, forming new trails as they searched for their own resources. Park administrators considered them an introduced species, and since they did significant damage to the vegetation on Tonto, they began the process of eradicating them, with rangers carrying rifles to shoot them all the way into the 1970s. Eventually, that practice was halted, and the last of these burros were removed in the 1980s by helicopter. The small part of the Tonto Trail we will be on today is the leg between the South Kaibab and Bright Angel trails. It's easily accessible, but far less traveled than Bright Angel or South Kaibab. So if you've done rim-to-rim or rim-to-river hikes and are looking for something new, this is a fantastic day hike that offers a totally different experience than the other trails do. You'll still get plenty of distance, about 13.5 miles all in, but you'll climb less than the rim-to-river routes, with about 6,800 feet of elevation change altogether. Still a strenuous hike that you will need to be mentally and physically prepared for. The preferred route for this hike will take us down South Kaibab for 4.5 miles to the tip-off, then across on Tonto to Havasupai Gardens, where we will pick up Bright Angel for the climb back up to Grand Canyon Village. The great part about this hike is you get a little bit of everything, from the glorious views down South Kaibab to the isolation along Tonto to the climb back up iconic Bright Angel. This hike can be dangerous if you aren't prepared. There's no easy water access between the South Kaibab trailhead and Havasupai Gardens, and there is little to no shade either. There are 2 creek crossings on Tonto, but you can't ever be certain they will be running. I've seen them with water and totally dry, but you should always carry a filter in the canyon, no matter what. All right, well, getting to Tonto starts with descending the magnificent South Kaibab for 4.5 miles until we're about 100 yards before the shelter at the tip-off, where you should see the sign for Tonto West on your left. It's easy to miss if you aren't looking for it. That is the spot we will pick it up from the trail. This is what it's like to hike the Tonto Trail between South Kaibab and Bright Angel at the Grand Canyon. So at this point, we're 4.5 miles into this hike. It's 4.5 miles from the South Kaibab trailhead to tip-off, and then it's going to be 4.5 miles across the Tonto Platform on the Tonto West Trail to Havasupai Gardens, and then 4.5 miles to the top. So break it up into 4.5 mile chunks, and it makes it a little bit more manageable. One thing about Tonto is that this is definitely the trail less traveled on the main corridor trails here at the canyon. We're going to get on there, and we're not going to see very many people, if any. Most people, when they do Tonto, they come down South Kaibab to tip off just like we're doing. They go across to Bright Angel. Very rarely do you see people who come down Bright Angel and then across to South Kaibab, and then up, because then you're 9 miles without having any chance at water, since there's no water available at all on South Kaibab. So most people come down South Kaibab, they go across to Havasupai Gardens, across the Tonto Platform on Tonto West, and there's water at Havasupai Gardens, and then seasonally at the 3 Mile Rest House and the 1.5 Mile Rest House before you get to the top of Bright Angel. So definitely the smarter way to go, the safest way to go is down South Kaibab, across Tonto, and up Bright Angel. Can be done the other way, but you just have to know how to really manage your water, and definitely not do it in the warmer months when it gets hot and dangerous in the canyon. And one thing about this trail is that it is exposed the entire way. There's no shade. It is completely exposed. You get that feeling like you're standing in the middle of the canyon. The trade-off is, for the incredible views, is that you don't have any shade. So it's a cooler time of the year right now. It's November, so not too worried about that. But if it would have been a month ago, all summer, late spring, early fall here in Arizona, it's probably 15 to 20 degrees warmer down here on the Tonto Platform than it is at the rim. So you got to keep that in mind, because it's just too hot to be hiking in the canyon in the middle of the day when it's those seasons, because it's dangerous. I've gotten myself into trouble before, and I do this a lot. So the canyon is definitely not a place to take lightly, especially in the summer months. Yeah, can't emphasize it enough. Be careful in the warmer months. The heat plus the direct sun exposure kills hikers every single year below the rim, so please take it seriously. It doesn't take long after leaving South Kaibab to get a sense for what Tonto will be like for just about the entire 4.5 mile leg. It's exposed and desert-like, with mostly shrubs and cacti dotting the landscape. The trail is narrower and less maintained than the more popular trails, but it's relatively smooth. No awkward steps like you'll find on the way down from the rim and then back up. Tonto is also relatively flat, just some gently rolling hills, as we'll gain only about 200 feet of elevation before Havasupai Gardens. It feels like we're standing in the middle of the Grand Canyon. It's an otherworldly kind of experience. This is the same kind of feeling that you get on Plateau Point, the Plateau Point Trail, where you're out on the Tonto Platform just like this, and it just feels very exposed, very open. The canyon is just kind of in the distance all around you. It's just spectacular, and you're just so isolated. Haven't seen anybody yet out here on Tonto. Honestly, don't really expect to see anybody on Tonto. Everybody, just about everyone, sticks to the South Kaibab, Bright Angel, trails around the river routes. Very few come across Tonto, but if you've done the other trails, if you've done South Kaibab, if you've done Rim to River, if you've done all the other bucket list kind of hikes here in the canyon, this is a good one to come out and check out, because it's different, it's unique, it's very unique. Now, this hike was one of many I did with the all-new Rim to Rim Pack from Bright Angel Outfitters, which is a company founded by my wife and I that aims to help folks have their best possible experience in the canyon and beyond through our free content and also our gear, which was developed in and for the Grand Canyon. Not because we figured if it's good enough for the canyon, it's good enough for any day hike anywhere on Earth. Now, the Rim to Rim Pack is everything that I wanted a day pack to be but couldn't find. The feature I'm most excited about is our pack straps, a system of 6 pockets and pouches on the front shoulder straps, which lets you store bottles, snacks, and even your phone without having to stop to take your pack off every time you need something. They are complete game changers, and we think once you try them, you will never want a backpack without them again. The Rim to Rim Pack has a 22-liter capacity, giving you plenty of storage space for any length of day hike. We purposely gave it a simple one-size-fits-most design with minimal pockets and compartments because we got tired of never remembering where we put everything. This thing is sleek, simple, and gorgeous, with a top-of-the-line water-resistant shell and an insulated pocket for water reservoirs and snacks. The Rim to Rim Pack from Bright Angel Outfitters is coming soon and will be available at brightangeloutfitters.com. All right, back to the trail now. There can be opportunities to see wildlife on Tonto as well. Bighorn sheep and mule deer are among the most common sightings below the rim of the canyon's more than 90 species of mammals. And as I found out for myself during a previous hike on Tonto, There are also 48 species of reptiles. Something to keep in mind, and it's not to alarm anyone because it's rare, but Tonto is the one place in the canyon where I have run across a rattlesnake. The famous pink-colored Grand Canyon rattlesnakes. It was in the summertime, and I'm sure there hadn't been anybody on Tonto in a while, and this guy was coming across the trail, and he was right in front of me, and he startled me, and I startled him, and he coiled up, and he rattled at me, and I'm like, boy, you just go right on your way, sir. Don't even mind me. I just stayed back, took a couple pictures, and he went on his way. So it's nothing to be scared of. Running across snakes, living in Arizona, it happens all the time. But it's nothing to be afraid of. They're less happy to see you than you are to see them. You just got to remember that and give them a little bit of space and let them go on their way. But you can see this trail is narrow. It's not as maintained as the main corridor trails are. And there are shrubs that line each side of the trail. So you're basically brushing up against these shrubs a lot of the way. So definitely something to keep in mind, that snakes, rattlesnakes, other wildlife are here. We're sharing the canyon with them. This is their home. And just to be aware and be safe. Definitely something I'll never forget. Let's put it like that. Well, of course, just about every canyon experience is unforgettable. And this time, it was something else that I hadn't even considered as I came upon that first creek crossing and found the arid desert scenery broken up by the creekside trees and their magnificent pops of orange and yellow. There's a creek that runs right through here. You can see it's really green right now, the reeds up around the water. And I can hear a little babbling down there, so there's a little bit of water running somewhere. I've been through here in the summertime and in the warmer months, and it's dry as a bone. So to see it like this, green and lush through here, and then the fall colors in the Grand Canyon. Unexpected surprise. You never know what the canyon's going to offer up to you, man. This place is just, it's so amazing. I just love it. Always something new. Man. Creek crossing number 2 comes just about 10 minutes later. This one can be a little sketchier, even when the water isn't running. Sometimes this little spot right here, this creek crossing, is fully grown up with the reeds, so you have to actually bushwhack your way through them. There's been some traffic, there's a little bit of a path through there, so I know we can get to the other side, but I have been through here when these things are grown up and they look just like this. You don't know where the trail is, so you got to kind of bushwhack your way through until you get to the other side, but just know the trail is always directly on the other side. Once past the second creek, the desert-like landscape returns, and that's what we traverse the rest of the way to Havasupai Gardens. You do go around plenty of gorges on this second half of the hike, which are spectacular. What they really are is spots where the Tonto Platform is eroding into the canyon's inner gorge, which is the formation that runs all the way down to the river. This is also a good place to stop and, well, to just listen. More likely than not, what you'll hear is absolutely nothing. Just kind of decided to stop here along this huge gorge and this gigantic drop-off. It's a very cool sight. I'm just kind of standing here, and the thing I notice more than anything else isn't the views, it's the silence. Our days, our lives are so full of noise, constantly, distractions, screens, sounds. Standing here in the middle of the Grand Canyon, it's a little bit of a reset. It's dead quiet. It's an incredible feeling of solitude and peace. You don't really get this on the other corridor trails. There's always somebody nearby. Tonto is it's a different story. If you want peace and solitude on the corridor trails of the Grand Canyon, Tonto's the one to come to. This is something. Eventually, if you know what to look for, you'll see Plateau Point in the distance, and since it connects to the Bright Angel Trail, you'll know your time on Tonto is nearing its end. And then, 4.5 miles after the left turn onto Tonto from South Kaibab, 9 miles from where we started, and with about 5 miles of climbing still to go, we come to the junction with Bright Angel. So that sign marks the end of Tonto between South Kaibab and Bright Angel. We've now met up with the Bright Angel Trail, about another 1/4 mile up the trail here from the sign is the Havasupai Gardens campground rest area. There are pit toilets there and a place to refill your water as long as the pipeline is working, which I believe it is today. And because it's November, they've already shut the water off at 3 Mile Rest House and the 1.5 Mile Rest House. So getting water here at Havasupai Gardens will be the last chance before the rim. And we still have 4.5 miles and 3,800 feet of elevation to gain until we're standing on the south rim. So if you're looking for isolation, solitude, peace, and quiet on the main trails here at the Grand Canyon, what we just did is the place to find it, because we saw in that 4.5 miles that we were out there, 0 people. We didn't see a single soul. Had the trail to ourselves, felt like we were in the middle of the canyon by ourselves. Saw all the fall colors, which was an added treat. I did not expect that. That was amazing. I can't wait to get home and look at those pictures and cut up that video. Tonto offers a totally unique experience here in the canyon. Just the complete solitude, the quiet. Could not recommend it more. That was cool. And that is what the experience is like on the Tonto Trail. South Kaibab to Tonto to Bright Angel. 13.7 miles, 3,260 feet of elevation lost, 3,540 feet of elevation gained. I hope you guys enjoyed the hike, and I hope you subscribe to the channel so we can keep bringing you more great content like this, because the only goal that we really have is to provide you the information, hopefully a little bit of inspiration, so that you have the safest and most fulfilling trip to the Grand Canyon, because we take it for granted. We live in Arizona. I live in Phoenix. It's about 3.5 hours to get from my house to the trailhead, and I do it all the time. I take that for granted, I think, because it gives me so much joy to see all the people from, obviously from different countries, the different languages you hear on the trail, but everybody's just so excited to be here at the canyon because it's one of the 7 natural wonders of the world for a reason. So all we're trying to do is provide you value and provide you the tips and tricks that we've learned so that you can have the safest and best possible experience in the canyon. Folks, we would be so grateful if you would subscribe to the podcast and leave us a rating and review on whatever platform you're listening from. It sincerely helps us on our mission to help as many folks as we can. All right, that's it for this time. My name is Brian Special, encouraging you, as always, to go hike the canyon. Take that first step, embrace the journey, and ultimately hike your own hike, whatever and wherever that might be. We'll see you next time on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters.